Hello, I'm Dai Lee, and welcome to Dawn COVID-19 series of webinars in collaboration with CMRC, Business Connect, and our presenters for tonight's Cashflow government support program, Tiha and Nathaniel Truong, who will come on later from the Loan Lounge. This is going to be a live webinar. I'm here with Jolie Nguyen. Hello, Jolie. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you? Hello, everyone.
Yeah, so Jolie is from the CMRC and Business Connect Advisor. But this is going to be a live webinar, everybody. And at the end of this, you will have the opportunity to ask questions, Q&As to our presenters and our guests. Please remember that this will be recorded and streamed live on YouTube. Now, if you want to participate in the Q&A, you can actually ask the questions on the chat in the current form, or there's a link that you can click to that you can pop up later and we can see you and you can engage with the presenters themselves. But thank you very much for joining us tonight. This is our second series, as I said, so it's exciting. We're kind of trying to learn from the last one. But tonight's webinar is going to be focusing on cash flow management, and it'll be bilingual in both English and Vietnamese. So I'll hand over to Jolie, who will introduce CMRC and Business Connect, and then we'll take it from there. See you back soon.
Yeah. Good evening. Thank you, Dele, for your introduction. Thank you, Dawn, for being our partner in this special series, COVID-19. Thank you, Nathaniel and Tiha, our guest speaker tonight on the special topic, cash flows and the government support. I'm Jolie Linh Nguyen, Business Connect Advisor, Vietnamese speaking. It is my pleasure to be involved in this event tonight. We all know that the COVID-19 outbreak is affecting many businesses in different ways. In downturn in sales, downturns in customers, and in some cases, temporary business shutdown. That's why we are organizing the online workshops in diversified topics with the hope to provide you information to navigate through the current situation. Let me present a brief introduction about Business Connect program. This is the dedicated and personalized program funded by the New South Wales government. The program aims to support you, startups, create jobs, and assisting and help the existing established SMEs to become sustainable. And at the same time, we also want to support you increase the business confidence across New South Wales. We also refer you to the relevant and appropriate additional service. We also help you to be ready to engage to join into the digital economy. I would like to give this introduction in Vietnamese. Kính chào quý vị, tôi là Linh Nguyễn, cố vấn kinh doanh nói tiếng Việt của chương trình kết nối kinh doanh đa văn hóa. Chương trình kết nối kinh doanh đa văn hóa Business Connect là một chương trình tận tâm và chuyên biệt của chính phủ tiểu bang New South Wales nhằm mục đích hỗ trợ cho cộng đồng doanh nghiệp trên toàn bang khởi nghiệp, phát triển bền vững cũng như giúp quý vị tự tin trong quá trình kinh doanh của mình trên toàn bang New South Wales. Ngoài ra, chúng tôi cũng sẽ thực hiện các kết nối quý vị với các dịch vụ hỗ trợ liên quan và giúp đỡ quý vị trong quá trình sẵn sàng hội nhập vào nền kinh tế kỹ thuật số. About CMRC. CMRC Migrant Resource Center is engaged by the New South Wales government to provide the multicultural business advisory service. CMRC has 6 advisors speaking Arabic, Cantonese, Mandarin, Korean, and Vietnamese to bridge the cultural and language gaps across New South Wales. The next question you may ask, how you going to register for one-on-one business advisory with an advisor? There are 3 ways. First, you can register online at business.newsouthwales.gov.au/businessconnect for a highly subsidized session to book an event, or you can also call to the number 1300-650-058 to connect with multicultural advisors, or you can contact directly with me with the information provided on the screen. I'm going to leave you now with Daile, and I'll see you again in the session of Q&A. Kính thưa quý vị, câu hỏi đặt ra là quý vị thắc mắc có thể làm như thế nào? Quý vị có thể đăng ký một cuộc tư vấn với cố vấn kinh doanh. Có 3 cách. Quý vị có thể đăng ký trực tuyến tại trang website business.newsouthwales.gov.au/businessconnect, hoặc quý vị có thể gọi về số điện thoại 1300 650 058 để kết nối với một cố vấn kinh doanh đa văn hóa. Hoặc quý vị có thể liên hệ trực tiếp với tôi theo thông tin được cung cấp trên màn hình. Tôi xin nhường phần chương trình tại đây lại cho chị Đài Lê, và tôi sẽ gặp lại quý vị trong phần hỏi và đáp. Thank you.
Thanks, Jolie. Thank you. I hope you enjoy our bilingual webinar series, guys. This is very new for us, and I'm sure very new for many people as well. But we're going to now ask our presenters, the wonderful Tiha and Nathaniel Truong from the Loan Lounge, to come and present cash flow management and government support to you guys. But we'll take a short break and we'll come back very soon. So stay tuned.
See you.
See you.
Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Business Connect. We're excited to present to you today. My name is Nathaniel, and I'm here with T, and I'd just like to start by saying a big thank you to Di from Dawn and the CMRC team, and also the state government for putting on the Business Connect. And, you know, we just hope that through all the information that we provide today and the principles that we share, we can really add value to you and your business. So like I said, I'm Nathaniel. I've been in business for about 5 years. I was born and raised in Australia. My parents were immigrants from Vietnam, and they have always been in business. So I've always been around business. But when I finished school, I actually went into university and started working at the bank. But I've always had that desire to really step out and do business. And my goal and intention around business was always to help clients and make a difference. So we actually work around a triple bottom line philosophy where we assist our clients, we care for them, we make sure that the community wins and also the business wins. And how we do that is when we provide services around, you know, clients buying their first home, whether it's an investment or commercial property, and also assist with refinances. We achieve a commission, and through our trail commission, we've been able to give 10% of that to really abolish injustice and fight human trafficking. So over the last 5 years, we've been able to give over $100,000 to these initiatives. And I guess if you think about that from a small business perspective, in a small business with 4 staff in Cabramatta, we've been able to really make a little bit of an impact, you know, and so we'd love for other businesses to really join us in that cause.
Awesome. So thank you so much for the introduction. Xin chào các bạn và cảm ơn tất cả đã có mặt hôm nay. Nhân và Thi rất là vui và vinh dự được trình bày với tựa đề Dòng tiền và sự ủng hộ của chính phủ, với sự mong rằng các bạn được thêm những ý tưởng và ý kiến để chúng ta có thể lập kế hoạch cho công việc của mình. Thi là một trong 4 thành viên của The Loan Lounge và chúng tôi giúp khách vay tiền nhà và kinh doanh. Vị trí công ty là ở Cabramatta và chúng tôi phục vụ khách toàn nước Úc. Nhân và Thi hôm nay hy vọng các bạn có thể được một số ý tưởng có giá trị. Một lời nhắc nhở, xin các bạn hãy download cái workbook theo đường link bên dưới. Rồi sau khi chương trình kết thúc, chúng ta sẽ có phần Q&A để các bạn có thể đặt câu hỏi.
Well, I think giỏi quá. Yeah, so going into this COVID season, I remember when there were the whole social distancing measures came into play, and as a business, we've helped or probably settled over 400 loans over that period, and so naturally we've had some clients that have been in industries that have been really affected, like restaurants, like gyms. And I remember that Monday when we received an overflow of calls and really had to assist them and give them information on what are the next steps. And personally, as a business owner, I've been in business for 5 years, and you know, I'm in my mid-30s. Might not look like it, but I am. But, you know, our staff are quite young as well. And, you know, for us, really, this is the first crisis that we've ever been through. And so not only is a health crisis, but I believe it's also a crisis of fear, which really knocks your confidence. And I just heard, Jolie share around CMRC, around how we want to build confidence. And so we hope that, through what we share today, we can really build confidence for you. So, what did we do? Or how did I think through this season? And I want to share 4 A's on how I thought about this. And so during that time, for a couple of days, I was quite stressed. And so I just went out, started speaking to mentors, speaking to people that were a lot more senior than myself, gathered that information, read books, read podcasts, listened to as many things as I could. And so that takes me to the first A, which is awareness. So I listened to, voices, news, opinion, different counsel, and I made a decision after integrating all that information, and then I made a decision and formed my view. And I think this is really an important area for us to really think about, because if all that you're listening to is the news, and the news is coming from a negative perspective, and you make your decision for your business, for your family, for your children, whatever it is, based on one source of information, I don't think that that's very wise. So it's important that we are aware and take into account a multitude of counsel. There's a great proverb, a great quote. It says, "Plans fail for lack of counsel, but with many advisors, they succeed." So that's number 1, awareness. Number 2 is agility, the second A. And that really talks to the fact whether you're open to change. I'll just go to the next slide there. And whether you're teachable as well. And if you're willing to pivot and change direction. Just one more slide as well, please. And so really agility talks to the fact of whether you're willing to change it and be open and willing to pivot. There's a concept in business called the lean management startup, and a big movement a couple of years ago. And with these type of businesses, they come out with what they call a minimum viable product. They just come out with the minimum that they need, and they go out into market and they test the product. And if it's good, if it's not, they'll get the feedback, they'll change it, they'll fix it, they'll pivot again and go out to market again. And they just keep doing that until the product is right. And I feel that sometimes in this season, we have to step out and do that, not wait till everything's perfect, not wait till the stars align, because there's so much uncertainty that we need to really take the first step. I think about this in terms of my travel. I work in Cabramatta, and it takes me about half an hour to get home. And I take the M5. And usually along the M5, more often than not, there's always roadworks. And I know that, going home, it's been a tiring day, it's frustrating, and I just want to get home. But this detour is going to take about 15, 20, 30 minutes extra. But I know that I'm going to get there. And I feel like the way you can think about COVID is that it's just a detour. If you have your vision in place, if you plan, which is what we're going to take you through, you're going to get there.
Awesome. So, trước khi chúng ta bàn luận về dòng tiền và sự ủng hộ của chính phủ, Nhân và Thi muốn góp ý 4 cách để giúp các bạn suy nghĩ rõ ràng trong công việc, đặc biệt là trong mùa này. Đầu tiên là awareness, đó là sự nhận biết của mình. Một số câu hỏi chúng ta cần hỏi là hiện tại bây giờ bạn đang nghe lời ai, những thông tin là sự thật hay là tin đồn. Và câu hỏi tiếp theo nên là hiện tại bây giờ bạn có một đội ngũ cố vấn tốt hay không? Chúng ta ai đều cần một đội ngũ vấn rất tốt để mình có thể nhận xét tất cả rồi nhận xét tất cả ý kiến rồi tìm được quyết định của mình. Góp ý thứ hai là agility, đó là sự nhanh nhẹn và linh hoạt của mình. Một số câu hỏi chúng ta cần hỏi là bạn có cởi mở để thay đổi không? Và nếu cần thiết, bạn có sẵn sàng để xoay vòng và thay đổi hay không?
Yeah, so 1 is awareness, number 2 is agility, and 3 is to anticipate. And so, I'm assuming that I'm talking to a range of different businesses in different industries, and more often than not, you would know your business best. And ultimately, no matter what we hear, right, the responsibility lies with us, because when we make that decision, there's going to be consequences of that decision. So I really believe that in this time, to really rely on your intuition, be honest with yourself, and trust what's inside of you, and then anticipate what's next. And so that brings us to the 4th A, which is action, on the next slide. And in action, we'll go through some cash flow management strategies. But before I go into that, I think, as you take action, you'll start to form a view and see the larger picture. Often in a crisis, we don't really see what's going on. and you won't be able to see everything. But I think it's important that we don't wait and we just take a step at a time. And so I love this quote by Martin Luther King. He says, take the first step in faith. You don't have to see the whole staircase, just take the first step.
Yeah, that's great. Góp ý thứ ba là anticipate, đó là sự dự đoán của mình. Đa số các bạn là chủ doanh nghiệp và hiểu rõ doanh nghiệp của bạn nhất, và do đó bạn phải trung thực với chính mình, bởi vì cuối cùng trách nhiệm thuộc về bạn, cho nên bạn nên dựa vào trực giác của mình và dự đoán những gì tiếp theo. Góp ý cuối cùng là action, đó có nghĩa là chúng ta cần đưa mọi thứ vào hành động. Từng bước một, bạn sẽ bắt đầu thấy là mình đang đi đúng hướng hay không.
Great. So those are the four A's, and we're going to talk about how we're going to apply those four A's. And so part of action is the next slide around cash flow management strategies. And I think it's so important, so critical in this time to actually plan. And really planning is finding out where you are right now, and then where you want to be, and then kind of bridging that gap, right? That's the easiest explanation. And so it's still important that you have a vision of where you want to be. There's a great quote around, without vision, people perish, or without vision, people actually cast off restraint, like that they can't see the future. And the future, if you have a picture of where you want to go, that's always going to pull you forward. Instead of looking at the past, looking at your circumstances, let's think about the vision and think forward towards what's ahead, right? And so when you're planning, keep to a simple and clear plan. Your plan becomes clearer as the crisis unfolds, and then you'll start to know what's important and what isn't. As a small business, I realized, like, even going into this, like, you just realize what are the most important actions that you need to take. You don't really fluff around as much. And so it's okay during this time to expect to get it wrong at first, because in a crisis there's really no defined map. So a great way to think about this is to think long term, but really to plan short term. You always want to think about the future and where your organization ultimately ends up. But in a crisis, because things are changing all the time, sometimes you have to plan a few days or a few weeks in advance. So a simple question you can ask is, what's the next best thing that I can do right now? And really, to answer that question, you have to be aware of the things that are going on around you. You have to be very agile. You have to anticipate and then take action.
So bạn nên giữ kế hoạch đơn giản và rõ ràng, bởi vì trong một cuộc khủng hoảng chúng ta không có bản đồ xác định. Chúng ta nên suy nghĩ dài hạn nhưng lên kế hoạch ngắn hạn. Câu hỏi mình nên hỏi là, điều tốt nhất tiếp theo tôi có thể làm là gì? Có một câu tục ngữ, without vision, the people perish. Đây có nghĩa là chúng ta nên có mục tiêu, bởi vì nếu không thì có tầm nhìn thì người dân sẽ bị diệt vong.
Yes, so during that time, I remember, for a few days I was quite stressed and just thinking about, where am I going to take this business? What am I going to do next? And on that Monday, when there were all those changes government-wise, and I thought the best thing that I can do to protect my staff and for them to be safe is to send everyone home. And just before walking out, before sending everyone home, it was about 5:30. I thought, as a business and being a man of faith, I gotta pray for my team and also pray for my businesses. And that was actually the first time I had tears in front of my staff, because I just really felt the weight of that season and the weight for the business owners. And I felt the weight for myself, and I thought, what can I do right now? And I think, for all of us as small business owners, whether you're a big business, small, no matter the size, cash flow forecasting is so key, because it actually tells you where you are right now, and it allows you to make an informed decision based on facts, not based on your emotions. So how do we do that, right? How do we understand our cash flow? So there's a few ways. You can speak to your advisor, like your accountant, or you can look at your accounting software, whether it's MyOB, Xero, QuickBooks. And if you don't have that, then maybe you can look at your last 2 to 3 months bank records, see what's coming in, see what's going out. And then if you have cash, then probably good luck. But you could probably keep your invoices and look through that. But it's so important to understand really what's going in and what's going out. And if we go to the next page or the next slide, this is just a simple example of a cash flow forecast over the next 3 months. So I really want to spend some time here and go through, how we did it and also how you can do it as well. So basically, if we look at the top line, income, or if we think about cash flow in general, it's just things coming in, things going out, what you're left with. And so income is, whether you sell a product, you receive revenue for that, or whether it's a service that you provide, then you get paid for that. And then that makes up your total income. And then there's a list of different expenses. I'll go a little bit more in depth in the few next slides, but I'll just stay here. And if you look at after you have the income, you take away the total expenses, you're left with net earnings. And at the moment, the government is offering all these extra boosts and benefits, which will go in, and that will actually allow you to boost your cash flow during this time. But, whether you make one decision or the other, I think that it's really important that we understand where you are right now before you can make an informed decision.
Yeah, that's great. I actually remember that afternoon, and it's really crazy to know that that was almost 2 months ago.
Yeah.
Well, only, I should say. So khi nói về dự báo dòng tiền, bạn nên hỏi mình dòng tiền của bạn như thế nào ngay bây giờ. Chúng ta nên nói chuyện với kế toán của mình, hay là xài những accounting software, hoặc là xem tài khoản để mình có thể dự báo trong 30, 60 và 90 ngày tiếp theo. Đây là một bảng để giúp các bạn phân tích dòng tiền. Vui lòng xem trên cái on your page right now, you can see the income and your expenses. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. So if we look at the so you just got a bit stuck there, but it's all good. If we look at analyzing income sources at the top, I've broken it down in terms of inflows. So if we go to the next slide, let's think about the top line around income. And, as a business, how are you generating revenue right now? And are there alternative sources of income? A simple example is, for us as a business, we're a mortgage brokerage. And over the last few months, we had a lot of first home buyers and a lot of investors. And that was generating revenue for us. But at the moment, with the uncertainty, this revenue source is basically non-existent or very, very small. So, how do we actually look for alternative sources of income? Can we look at clients that will refinance? So that's an example in terms of financial services, but your business may be different. It could be, let's say, a restaurant where you provide dining services, but now you've had to go online. So how do you think through this, right? And the 4 A's are really good here, like awareness. Who are you speaking to? What are the ideas that you're getting? How do you anticipate what the next few months will look like as well? And then how do you pivot? And how do you take action? So I think that's really important to go through your income and see where your money is coming from. And then, if you're going through a lot of difficulty, there's also plenty of government support as well. And I love to just highlight the word temporary there, because this is a temporary measure. COVID is temporary as well. All things pass. It's very seasonal. And so there's different types of government support. And this is really to help you during this difficult time. But, when we come out of that, we don't want, as a business, we're not there to rely on government support, right? We're there to be entrepreneurial. We're there to generate a profit and be sustainable. So this support at this time can help you in terms of support for individuals and households. There's support for businesses, and then supporting the flow of credit. There's plenty of information out there at the moment for all these different types of payments, and there's so many resources. We can provide you with a link later where you can get a summary of all this, or you can just jump on treasury.gov.au. There's a lot of information on there as well. But I'd love to go a little bit in depth around supporting the flow of credit, because as a financial services business, this is an area where we can understand a little bit more. So I'll just go through to the next slide. So the supporting the flow of credit is called the Coronavirus SME Guarantee Scheme, which will provide support for SME business. So normally in normal conditions, when you obtain a loan around $50,000 or $100,000 or more than that, generally when you come to a lender, they will ask for a type of security. And that security is usually a house, right, or an investment property, a commercial property, or could even be a car. And so in this instance, what the government is doing is they're guaranteeing 50% of that loan with that lender. So basically the loan is unsecured, only secured by the government. So you don't have to put in any of your own collateral. So these loans are up to $250,000 per borrower. They're not 250,000, they're up to there. So they will actually go through a normal credit assessment process where you'll do an application, they'll look at your assets and liabilities and really your cash flow over the last 6 to 12 months as well. And then that loan will last for about up to 3 years. There's an initial 6-month repayment holiday, and you've probably heard it already, but if you're going through difficulty, there is every bank has a special COVID-19 page where you can actually go in there, call a number or leave your details, get someone to call you back, where you can place your repayments on hold for 6 months.
So 3 nguồn thu nhập mà chính phủ đã giới thiệu cho chúng ta đó là hỗ trợ cho cá nhân, hỗ trợ cho doanh nghiệp và hỗ trợ dòng tín dụng bằng cách vay tiền. Hôm nay Nhân và Thi sẽ nói về điểm số 3, hỗ trợ dòng tín dụng, bởi vì chắc điểm số 1 và số 2 các bạn đã biết rồi, còn nếu không, các bạn có thể xem trang cuối cùng hoặc trực tiếp nói chuyện với kế toán. Chính phủ đã giới thiệu The Coronavirus SME Guarantee Scheme. Sự hỗ trợ này chỉ là tạm thời thôi, để giúp hỗ trợ cho doanh nghiệp với lợi ích là chúng ta không cần đem tài sản để thế chấp số tiền mình vay với phần điều kiện như sau. Turnover của các bạn không hơn 50 triệu đô la. Số tiền vay tối đa là 250.000 và thời hạn cho vay không hơn 3 năm, và bạn không cần trả tiền lời 6 tháng đầu qua dạng repayment holiday, kỳ nghỉ trả nợ. Ngay lúc này bạn cũng có thể yêu cầu tạm dừng trả nợ trực tiếp thông qua người cho vay. Các bạn phải cũng hiểu rằng là số tiền lãi sẽ cộng vào số tiền mình vay sau khi thời hạn chấm dứt. Vì vậy các bạn nên xem là nếu điều này sẽ tốt cho các bạn hay là không. Yep.
Yeah, it's good to note with the 6-month repayment holiday that it's a holiday, but it's not free money. The interests will be capitalized. So actually, you may end up paying a little bit more interest within that term when this COVID period is over. So the next slide is analyzing expense items. So previously we spoke about the income side, which is the top line, and then we're going to go through the bottom line, which is the expense items. I think this is an area that is super important. I think I want to be honest. I've become really good with managing my cash flow over these last 2 to 3 months, and I realize how important this skill is now. And I really feel that there are these skills that we can learn, and when we come out of this COVID season, we'll come out a lot stronger as well. So one of the key things when we analyze expense items is really to cut unnecessary spending by going through each line item one by one. And the key around uncertainty is really how long you can weather this storm. And one way to do that is to cut down your expenses and to conserve as much cash as you can. So I'm going to talk about a few key ones, which is number 1, advertising, whether you should increase this or whether you should decrease this or whether you should divert this. And so, a way to think about this again is going through the 4 A's. What you're anticipating during this time, are you aware of the things that are happening around you? Are you able to be agile and pivot? And then also, are you going to take action, and what are those results? And then keep changing as you see more and you hear more and you form a bit of a view, right? So that's number 1, advertising. Number 2 is bank fees and interest. We spoke a little bit about the repayment holiday, whether, should I take a repayment holiday right now for 6 months because I have to pay it back? Can I afford it? So some of those decisions you're going to have to make. But I think a great decision is the next slide, where you can actually look at a simple case study. It doesn't cost you anything, but we were able to help a client not only reduce their rates, but obtain a cashback. So I'll just jump to the next slide. So this is an example of a client that we recently assisted with a refinance of their investment loan. The investment loan was $575,000. And during the refinance, we unlocked equity of $105,000 in cash. This allowed the client to free up their cash flow, give them peace of mind, and they had the intention of taking advantage of opportunities that come up through purchasing another property. And a few quick benefits that they received through this service is interest savings of $4,370 each year. And if you think about that over 30 years, that's close to about $120,000. So it's a lot of money, a lot of interest that could be in your pocket. I always think it's a holiday every year, right? That you can go to. We unlocked equity of $105,000. We had access to the lender's funds instead of the client's own funds. And then there was a cashback of $2,000 from the lender. So actually, it didn't even cost that client anything. It put money in his pocket. And at the moment, there is a special refinance offer of about $4,000 from a few different lenders. And in the end, it was a better structure for the client. There was peace of mind, and it put them in a better position. So that's an example of analyzing the interest expense item on your profit and loss statement. So we'll just go back one slide. So that's number 2, bank fees and interests. Number 3, you'll see that there'll be a natural reduction in a lot of different expenses because people are working from home now. There's going to be less expenses around motor vehicle, tolls, international or national travel. And then the 4th expense item. So usually, the biggest expense items in any business is your wages, or the second biggest one is rent and leases. And so, with rent and leases, can you renegotiate this with the landlord? I actually did something like this. For a number of weeks, I emailed the landlord when this whole thing was happening, whether the landlord will reduce the rent, and she said no, she's waiting for government guidance. And then a week later, I'd send her another article from the news, and then she'll say no, and then the next week I'd send another article, and then I sent her for about 4 weeks, and then she said, send me an email. I sent her an email, she spoke to the landlord, and she said, we're happy to reduce your rent by 50%, but you have to pay it back after 6 months. And I said, I'm just going to pay it right now because I don't want to owe anyone money. Yeah, so that is rent and lease. So you might have better luck. So I would say renegotiate with your landlord. And finally, wages. Wages is usually the biggest expense. And I want to come back to wages after T translates in Vietnamese.
Very persistent.
Yeah.
Very persistent. Lúc bắt đầu Nhân và Thi đã góp ý 4 cách để giúp các bạn suy nghĩ rõ ràng và và sự nhận biết linh hoạt, dự đoán và hành động của bạn. 4 cách này cũng có thể giúp phân tích chi phí doanh nghiệp của mình. Ai cũng biết rằng là tiền thu nhập phải hơn tiền chi phí, nhưng có lẽ trong mùa này tiền thu nhập không như bình thường. Khi chúng ta nghĩ đến những chi phí, chúng ta nên hỏi những chi phí này cần hay không cần thiết, và nên tăng, giảm hay chuyển hướng, hoặc nếu có cơ hội để thương lượng hay không. Ví dụ quảng cáo, tiền thuê tiệm, lệ phí và lãi suất của ngân hàng, vân vân và vân vân. Như Thi đã giới thiệu, công ty chúng tôi giúp khách vay tiền và tiết kiệm tiền nhà và kinh doanh. Trang này các bạn sẽ thấy, next slide. Trang này các bạn sẽ thấy là chúng tôi đã giúp khách này tiết kiệm được 4.370 đồng, và ngân hàng này còn lại tặng cho người khách 2.000 đồng để refinance. Quá trình này không tốn khách, cho nên xin các bạn hãy liên lạc chúng tôi hoặc đến thẳng ngân hàng để tìm hiểu thêm, để hỏi và có cơ hội để tiết kiệm lãi suất. It's hard when you don't have symbols.
We'll take it back one slide, please. Yeah, so thinking through each expense item, I remember that week when there was so much uncertainty, and I wanted to make an informed decision. And the biggest expense for us as a business was wages, and we had actually 5 staff at the time. And through this process, I actually had to let one staff go. And so I want to talk a little bit about how I communicated that with my staff. But before I do that, what's your plan around plan A, plan B, and plan C? So as I worked through, income, what's coming in, expenses, what's actually going out, and then you're left with a net figure. And so my plan was A, this is what we want to do as a business. This is the goal that we want to hit, and I see this as, we're doing well in this season. B is my break-even point. If I continue on B, everyone, we can keep our job, we can keep the business going. However, if we go to C and we're running at a negative position, really we have to make decisions. So either I'm going to have to change my full-time staff to part-time, or I'm going to have to let a person go. And so I actually had to model out my plan A, my plan B, and my plan C, and then make an informed factual decision. And then I had to communicate this with my staff. So how did I communicate this? And I think this is a great area to really talk about, because at first I was quite stressed and really unsure how my staff would take it. And so I use this framework to really communicate with my staff. So I'll just go to the next 2 pages. Okay, so communicating with your teams. How do you do this? I think it's really important in this season that we communicate empathetically, we communicate truthfully, and we communicate frequently. So number 1, around communicating empathetically. You know, when you're going through this time, whether your staff really believe in your vision, whether your staff really believe in what you're doing as a business, naturally, you know, sometimes they may fear their own job. They're thinking about themselves. They're thinking about their family. And so I think it's so important that we actually acknowledge people's feelings. We acknowledge our staff's feelings, and to not be afraid to say what people are actually thinking. And they're probably thinking, you know, is my job safe? I was thinking, is my business safe? You know, how am I going to make money during this time? What do I do? How do I make decisions? And so, you know, acknowledging not only my own feelings, but the feelings of my staff as well. So that's number 1, to communicate empathetically. Number 2, to communicate truthfully. And so, you know, during this time, you just got to tell the truth and to be realistic. You know, Craig Rochelle, he's a great leadership guru. He always talks about people would rather follow a leader who is always real than one who is always right. And honesty and truth is so important as a leader during this time. So, you know, this is not a time to really motivate. You don't really need to motivate your staff, but it's a time to really lead your staff. So bad news is better than no news. And finally, to communicate frequently. So every day, things are changing. So communicate with your team as much as possible. You know, connect with people, make sure that you're looking after your mental health, and people will benefit from seeing confidence on your face, from seeing truth, and from seeing leadership. And so what we do as a business, because everyone's working from home now, we would have a daily brief in the morning for about 15 minutes, and then a daily debrief at the end of the day for 15 minutes, and then also a meeting on a Monday to really get everyone on board, talk about the week, and then finish up with some good stories on Friday.
Yep.
Yeah, so we probably covered quite a little bit there. And so, you know what, you're probably thinking, you know, what is my next step? So I've put a few next steps there that you can take. First one is really to plan, to combine short-term planning with long-term thinking, to consult your advisors, the people around you, whether it's your financial advisor, your accountant, whoever it is. If you don't have a team, probably now is a good time to even think about building a team. Number 3, go through your cash flow. Make sure you go through every single line item. Seek alternative sources of revenue, cut out unnecessary expenses, and then communicate with your team if you have one. So let's go through the next slide. So finally, I just want to say, you know, it's good to remember that your work or your business, it does not equal your worth. Even if your business closes, even if, you know, you lose your job during this time, just remember that doesn't make you who you are. You know, it's not your identity. So you're not a failure. And so Winston Churchill says, success is going from failure to failure with no loss of enthusiasm. So just remember that you are creative, that you are intelligent, you have so much worth, and we believe in you and we'll get through this.
Amazing. Nhân vật Thi khuyến khích các bạn, đặc biệt là trong mùa này, chúng ta nên giao tiếp một cách đồng cảm, một cách chân thật và thường xuyên với những người trong doanh nghiệp của bạn. Bước kế tiếp là lập kế hoạch, tham khảo các nhân viên cố vấn của mình, tiên đoán dòng tiền, tìm những nguồn huệ lợi thay thế khác, cắt giảm những chi phí không cần thiết và giao tiếp. Cuối cùng, công việc của bạn không sánh ngang bằng giá trị của mình. Ngay cả khi doanh nghiệp của các bạn đóng cửa, bạn không phải là người thất bại. Nhân và Thi hy vọng các bạn có được một số ý tưởng có giá trị tối hôm nay. Cố lên! So that...
Yeah, so we just want to say to reach out to us if you have any questions and answers, whether it's on YouTube or whether you're linking in, to just put through your questions. We'll answer it for free. No, I'm just joking. It's just an interactive session, so feel free to ask questions if you have any.
Yeah, and definitely reach out to Business Connect if you've got any questions, like either directly about this webinar. But that pretty much concludes our presentation for tonight. So I'll pass it back to Jolly and Nathaniel for your Q&A sessions. Just as a quick reminder to please click the link below, because we'd love to see your faces literally pop up on our screens. Or alternatively, you can just continue to ask away in the chat. All right. Thanks. We'll be back in a sec.
Cash flows. So as you know that both the New South Wales government at the New South Wales state and the federal government currently have many business support measures to help you go through manage the cash flows. For example, the putting cash flow for business, which is that is will the value of the support will from $20,000 to $100,000, and this will be divided into two packages. So the first package will come with $10,000 to up to $50,000, and the additional package will come after that with the same amount of the support, the same amount of the money. So we encourage you that if you are eligible for this business support measures, so please check your all of your BAS and make sure that you meet all of the requirements with the ATO. And the ATO, they're going to process your application, and then through there you will receive the support to your account. And Nathan, are you going to continue with the other support from the government?
So the government support, there's actually about $320 billion that the government is supporting small businesses, especially if you think about that, that's about 16.4% of GDP. And so they've broken it down for individuals and households, and then for businesses, and around supporting the flow of credit. And actually, there's really good information on some of the government websites that will really go into depth around what each area is, and also run some case studies around that type as well. So I think if I list some of the support for businesses, there's the JobKeeper payment, there's boosting cash flow for employers, there's temporary relief as well for financially distressed businesses, increasing the instant asset write-off, backing investment, supporting apprentices and trainees, and for support around coronavirus affected regions and communities. I think with all of this type of support, you still need to be up to date with all the information that you're supplying to the ATO, because the ATO actually requires that information for them to make a decision and release those funds to you. So it's so important that you keep everything, all your information up to date, but also reach out to any advisors that you're using at the moment, especially your accountant, to see if you're eligible for this.
Yeah, and apart from that, if you are a small business with your annual turnover over 75,000 per year, you may be eligible for the government support from the New South Wales, the small business grant COVID-19 up to 10,000 K. So make sure that you feel that you are eligible. So reach out to Service New South Wales, and you can submit your application online. And apart from that, we are here, the Multicultural Business Connect Advisor team. We, in this current situation, we provide the fully subsidized service for you, and also we will organize the online workshops very often, quickly, monthly, and please make sure that you follow our website at business.newsouthwales.gov.au/business-connect, and you can find our reach hours, Business Connect advisors, or you can book an online event through the portal. And from that, we'll connect with you immediately to make sure that we will help you, provide you the information to navigate the current situation. And if we don't have any questions for now, we still receive your questions. So if you have any questions, please feel free to send it to us as the email address spa_Vietnamese@cmrc.com.au. Vâng, kính thưa quý vị, thì chương trình Business Connect hiện tại sẽ hỗ trợ cho quý vị miễn phí với các dịch vụ kết nối, đặt một cuộc hẹn với cố vấn kinh doanh, hoặc quý vị có thể đăng ký những cái buổi workshop hoặc những buổi seminar ở trên địa chỉ website của chương trình Business Connect tại địa chỉ là business.newsouthwales.gov.au/business-connect. Thì thông qua cái trang website này, quý vị có thể đặt những cái những cuộc tư vấn miễn phí, hoặc là tham dự những cái buổi event, sự kiện miễn phí được tổ chức bởi chương trình. Linh xin tóm tắt lại cái phần của anh Nathan chia sẻ trong phần Q&A. Thì hiện tại chính phủ đang có rất nhiều gói hỗ trợ dành cho các doanh nghiệp nhỏ trên toàn tiểu bang New South Wales. Thì tóm tắt lại một số chương trình hiện có, thì đó là một chương trình để hỗ trợ về dòng tiền, putting Cashflow cho doanh nghiệp nhỏ. Ngoài ra có chương trình đó là mình khấu hao tài sản nhanh để đẩy dòng tiền về cho phía doanh nghiệp. Mình sẽ có gói hỗ trợ về Job Keeper cho các doanh nghiệp để tiếp tục thuê mướn những nhân viên hoạt động, tiếp tục tình hình hoạt động kinh doanh của mình. Ngoài ra mình cũng có gói hỗ trợ dành cho doanh nghiệp nhỏ lên đến 10.000 đô. Nếu như doanh thu của quý vị đạt từ 75.000 đô trở lên thì quý vị có thể sẽ đủ điều kiện cho gói hỗ trợ này. Thì cái cách đăng ký cho gói hỗ trợ này, quý vị liên hệ trực tiếp với Service New South Wales để nộp đơn online. Từ đó Service New South Wales họ sẽ hỗ trợ. Và riêng các gói hỗ trợ khác, boosting Cashflow và các gói hỗ trợ về Job Keeper, thì quý vị có thể theo dõi trên trang website của ato.gov.au, sẽ có những cái hướng dẫn cụ thể, cũng như là bên phía ATO họ sẽ process, họ sẽ xử lý những cái thông tin cũng như những cái báo cáo về tình hoạt động kinh doanh của quý vị theo khi quý vị nộp hàng tháng hoặc hàng quý, để xem là quý vị có đủ hỗ trợ hay không để nhận được những gói trợ cấp này. Thì chắc là chúng ta sẽ kết thúc chương trình tại đây. Và một lần nữa thì xin cảm ơn quý vị rất là nhiều đã theo dõi chương trình buổi webinar của chúng ta. Và xin chào và hẹn gặp lại quý vị trong những chương trình tiếp theo. Nathan, would you like to say something?
I'd just like to say a big thank you for everyone that tuned in, for Dawn for giving us the opportunity, and also CMRC. We have plenty of available resources if you need. Just reach out to us around cash flow templates, business plan templates, or just a summary of all the initiatives that the government is providing. So feel free to reach out. All the resources are free. So thank you for this evening, and we wish you all the very best.
Thank you and good night.